Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking the time to be here. As always, I appreciate it. So this week's episode is going to be rather of a short one for the simple fact that yesterday when working on filming my outro, I had issues with my GoPro SD card, and unfortunately, I lost all my footage from the past week on working on stuff, which is a bummer. I'm definitely a little disappointed about it, so the least I can do is just show you a couple of things that I have been working on rather than doing no video at all. Alright, so first of all, I picked up this US General 5-drawer mechanics cart from Harbor Freight thanks to a Black Friday sale. So I finally have my tools somewhat more organized. They have been in a cardboard box, so it's nice to have them actually organized. I have my Tecton socket set on top, and then just kind of miscellaneous, a few pliers, GoPro stuff, some of my wrenches, and some other miscellaneous stuff. So my tool selection is a little basic still at the moment, but at least now it is more organized, so hopefully we can be a little more efficient with our work. So the next thing I was working on after that, as you saw in the last video, we were working on the fuel filler door, and I started by making this little filler panel here. I got that mostly welded in and somewhat smoothed out. We'll still have to do some more work there, but I am fairly happy with how it flows here. It's going to be a little hard to tell on camera, but I think once we get smooth it out a little more, get some body filler on here, it's going to work out nicely. Flows well. So I started with doing that panel there. Like I mentioned, I'll still have to work and fill that hole back in, and then also that one. So some more sheet metal to do on that. So what I turned my attention to after that was working on hood hinges. So this was the one thing that I had not been able to figure out yet, and the reason this was a bit of a pain. So the original Coronet hood hinges I still had. Thankfully I did hang on to them. The issue that I ran into was there just wasn't room for them anymore, and it's going to be a little hard to tell with the fender on, so I may just pop it off so you can see a little better. Quick release fender. Alright, so originally the hood hinges bolted right here on the side, and they stuck down a lot further. Well, with the Crown Vic, the way it was designed, I wanted to keep all the stock heater box and HVAC stuff. So if you'd watched the previous episode where we rebuilt all of this, spent a lot of time redoing that, those hinges just didn't clear anymore. And so for a long time, I wasn't sure how I was going to do this. So what I did Friday, I took most of the day off to work on the car. And I started by simply taking the stock hinges, bolting them onto the hood, and then just kind of test fit, marked, and started trimming the hinges to see how small I could get the hinges, to see if there was any chance of them clearing or not. Because I definitely didn't know if it was going to fit because there was not much room there. And I had considered doing some other ideas as well. I considered like a front tilt hood. The problem was there is very little room up there by the radiator, so I wasn't sure that was going to work. I did look at some universal like billet style hinges, so that would have been an option as well. But after working with them, I think it is actually going to work fine. So yeah, like I said, I would simply mark and trim the hinges and just cut out as much of them as I could. I disconnected the spring from this one, just because there wasn't clearance. So I'll still have to figure out how to incorporate the spring back into it. But I did get them tacked here. It was a pain because I also ran out of welding wire for the MIG, so I was attempting to tack it with the TIG welder, which was definitely more of a pain. But I did get them where they at least stay in place. This side was easier, just I had more clearance because no heater box over here. And so I didn't have to trim as much out of this hinge. It's still kind of weirdly shaped, but it does clear stuff. So I got it temporarily tacked into there on both sides. And this side I was able to keep the spring in the same spot. So it was definitely a pain. I had the hood on and off probably about a dozen times or so. So I was tired by the end of that day. And it's still some more adjustment is needed. But I do believe it is going to work okay. Now obviously, as much as I trimmed out of the hinge, and this is just sheet metal here, that is not strong enough to hold this. So what my plan is, I think I'll probably take some round tubing and maybe connect it, I'm not sure, somewhere in this area here, and then run a tube like along here somewhere, and then all the way down the front and tie it into the frame rail there. And then I can both reinforce it into the hinge somewhere there, and then I'll also use that tube as a mounting, for mounting the fenders, because I do have a little mount that I made here on each side, and it does hold the fender somewhat, but it's still pretty floppy. So that's not strong enough. I'll be able to mount the inner fender off of that as well. So I don't have a bender. I might have access to one, so we'll figure that out. Maybe one of the next things, not sure yet. But I am happy that we are going to make the stock hinges work. So one, I don't have to spend money on new ones, which is a plus right now. And yeah, it's going to work okay. So that is about the extent of what I got done this past week. Nothing too big or exciting yet, and it was a fairly important part, so I'm happy to have mostly figured that out. The other thing, and I want to run an idea past you guys, see what you think. So let me stick the fender back on, and then I'll continue. All right, so now we at least have it back in place where hopefully it shouldn't just fall off. So I'm playing with the idea of doing some running boards. Let me scoot this back out. See if we can get the fender to drop right on me. There, all right. So I have this scrap pieces of, I don't know how wide it is, stainless sheet metal here from, I'm actually not sure what they were from, with these little beveled corners already. And I do kind of like the look. One being, obviously with the fenders, how I moved them out, it is kind of a weird shape. It looks a little odd just with the fender being moved out. So I think maybe some running boards might kind of help fill that gap in the front and rear. And I think it kind of gives it a, I'm not sure, maybe more of a factory look-ish. Not that the car looks that factory, but still. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think it looks cool? Does it not? I'm curious to see. So I don't know if we'll have enough to do both sides, if we'll be using this particular stuff or not, but maybe. Kind of cool. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's going to be kind of some of the next things that I'll be working on the car, is potentially figuring out if I want to do running boards, and then getting these hood hinges finalized, figuring out if I can do maybe some round tube like I mentioned to reinforce through here. I would really like to get the front fenders mounted good and strong. That way they are in the right spot. Then I can continue working on stuff like the front grille, figuring out what I want to do for the front end. Hood latches in the front, I don't think I have room for the factory latch, so I might have to do some arrow catches, if you know what those are, like hood release pins in the front. Not entirely sure. So yeah, kind of getting this front end secured where it's supposed to be. That way stuff stays in place. I have an accurate spots to work off of. So I'm going to put the hood down for starters. And then we'll have to work on making the filler panels that run along here on each side, because obviously we moved the fender out, so it's a lot wider. Yeah, that's kind of what I can think of at the moment. I'm not sure how quick I'll be able to get it done. Right now, my priority obviously has been working on the house, which I gave you a very short tour the last video, so I'm hard on work on that, doing drywall. So progress on the car is a little slow. Hopefully this winter, once I get some other stuff kind of wrapped up, I'll have some more time to work on the car. But hey, we're slowly ticking stuff off the box. I'm really trying my best, as always, to not rush stuff and do stuff the best I can. It's definitely not, I'm no professional, never claimed to be, but still fun. I always enjoy the time that I get to work on it. So I think that's all I've got. So thank you guys and ladies for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.